Welcome to the program. The European Union has been struggling to agree to impose a sixth round of sanctions on Russia, including a ban on Russian oil imports. One senior official says the European Council is preparing to reach a political agreement on the issue.
EU leaders are currently meeting to discuss the ban on Russian oil imports, just as ambassadors have already been holding talks. Russia supplies 40% of the EU's natural gas and 27% of its oil imports, for which EU nations pay roughly 400 billion euros a year.
Well, reliance on these imports varies from country to country, with some, like Germany and the Netherlands, particularly heavy consumers of Russian oil and gas. In the meantime, the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says the EU is not there yet with regards to the new round of sanctions, including a potential ban on Russian oil imports. She was speaking to reporters earlier today, just as she arrived for the meetings with the EU ministers today, saying it's never been easy.
The EU requires the approval of all member states to introduce the sanctions, despite announcing them nearly a month ago. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz says he expects the EU to reach a consensus on the ban on Russian oil, but did not give a time frame when it might happen. Mr. Scholz also announced that there will be a constitutional majority in the German parliament to create a special fund of 100 billion euros to better equip the Bundeswehr.
Meanwhile, the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban says the EU's latest proposal for sanctions against Russia would include a ban on seaborne oil imports, which would be a good solution, he says, but there is still no compromise yet on the issue. Moving on, Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez says the Russian President Vladimir Putin will not achieve his objectives in the country. His forces invaded on February 24. The war in Ukraine and the applications by Finland and Sweden to join the defensive alliance that it has triggered are set to dominate a summit of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in Madrid later on next month, which Sanchez himself will host.
NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said at the same event that the cold blast of conflict would overshadow the historic summit.
Well, just before we speak to Anna Chenokova, who's on standby, developments out of Ukraine at the moment. French President Emmanuel Macron has named the French journalist who was killed in Luhansk in eastern Ukraine just after the armored evacuation vehicle he was traveling in was hit by a Russian shell. The man has been identified as Frédéric Leclerc-Imhoff. He was just 32 years old. President Macron said he was shot while on board a humanitarian bus alongside civilians forced to flee to escape Russian bombs.
We are also learning today U.S. President Joe Biden saying the U.S. will not send Ukraine rocket systems that can reach into Russia. It comes after reports that the Biden administration had been considering sending advanced long-range rocket systems to Kyiv. Russia had said it saw any deliveries of heavy weapons as a provocative escalation.
Right, they did. Also, Russian forces are said to have entered into the city of Severodonetsk as efforts continue to capture the eastern Donbass region continue. Now, if they do take over the city, they would have completed their conquest of the Luhansk region, which is a major strategic aim for them.
Indeed. Well, let's talk about this some more. Anna Chenokova, VOA correspondent in Ukraine, Kyiv, actually joins us now. Anna, it's great to see you. And I know how difficult it must be to keep tabs with what is going on, and even more risky for foreign journalists covering the invasion. How does the Ukrainian press feel when they hear a foreign journalist has been killed? I mean, the last time we heard it was a Ukrainian journalist, Liberty Radio, and this is while covering the fighting that's going on in your country.
Good evening. Well, it's yet another tragedy, and of course, for everyone, it's a great tragedy, and especially when a person who is a foreigner, and it doesn't matter, it's a journalist, it's a doctor, it's a civilian, but of course when a foreigner is dying on the territory of your country, well, it's even, I mean, I don't want to say that it's even worse, but it's as great tragedy as if Ukrainian would die, and especially when we talk about the war and when we talk about journalists and doctors and civilians dying, I think that this is just, it's just another, war crime that is happening. And unfortunately, this brave French journalist, as you correctly said, we also have information that his name was Frederic Leclerc. He was covering pretty much civilian topic, evacuation of the civilians, and he was killed by the missile attack and by the piece of the shell on his way in Luhansk region.
Perhaps, for those listening, talk to us about some of the care that you take covering some parts of Ukraine since the invasion. And, this is also for others who are on the ground covering this invasion.
I should say that in this war, we're pretty much covering the whole country. So it's no regions that haven't suffered from either shelling or on land attack or anything like that. So for the moment, I think that it's just one region that haven't suffered from neither shelling or attack, which is Chernivetska region. But again, every day they also suffer air raid sirens and so on. So of course, it's just experience that you never ever expected to have, and in this case for Ukraine it takes the whole country. I should say that of course we all now concentrate on the east part, because eastern part of Ukraine is now the main battlefield, and Severodonetsk and Lysychansk are two cities in Luhansk region, which are under Ukrainian control, and where the main fightings are happening right now. Also, the south is still very dangerous, and the south is still under very difficult fightings as well. If we look at the Odessa region or Mykolaiv region, every day we hear reports of shellings, we hear reports of people dying, civilians dying, and military dying. So I think that these two regions are the main to concentrate on. I should say that north center part of Ukraine and west part of Ukraine for the moment are less risky. However, if we talk about north part, it's always a great risk, because it's an area which has border with Russia, and every day we see certain movements of Russian forces, Russian troops, Russian equipment there. So this is if we talk about general map, this is how it is now in Ukraine.
And Anna, Ukraine is still needing more weapons to fight the Russian forces, especially as, the Russian forces advance into the Donetsk region. We just learned they entered Severodonetsk today. The U.S. president says he will not be sending rocket systems. Is that included in President Zelensky's weapons request?
We don't know which kind of weapons exactly President Biden was talking about, because as far as I know, and as far as what information that we have, that he didn't mention particular kind of weapons. So what he said that they would not probably, again, yet the decisions that they're not going to send anything that Ukraine might use to strike deep into Russian territory. As far as we know, Ukrainian officials announced that Ukraine asked U.S. to include in this support package missiles which could reach 70 kilometers and 200 kilometers distance. So for the moment, there is no reaction or official comment on that from the Ukrainian side. Might come a little bit later, and I think will come. But for the moment, we don't know exactly what Mr. Biden was talking about, so we don't know exactly if these are the weapons that Ukraine asked for. But again, this definitely, I think that we will understand that in a couple of hours or in a couple of days. So it should be a certain explanation, or at least an official comment from the Ukrainian president or from the Ukrainian officials who take care of that. If we talk about the Severodonetsk region, as you correctly said, Ukrainian forces are trying to, they are keeping the front line. They are doing their best, but very heavy fightings are happening. And as we know from the morning, a big push by Russian forces have been made, and Russian forces have entered the city, and now there are street fightings are happening. What Ukrainian officials are saying and reporting on the situation, because the situation is changing very, very fast. What we know so far, the latest, is that there are no particular movement deeper in the city from Russian forces. So basically, it's even difficult to say exactly where is the front line. So the borders. So who controls what? And but what we know is that most of the city is still under Ukrainian control, and this is in general when we talk about Lysychansk and Severodonetsk, because these are two cities which are left under Ukrainian control in the Luhansk region.
Well, Kharkiv also came under attack last night, from Sunday night until this morning. President Volodymyr Zelensky was there yesterday, his first official trip outside of the Kyiv region. I don't know what impact that may have had, on the soldiers. He met them, he talked to them, he encouraged them and all of that. How would they? What impacts do you think that could have, on the fight against Russia? And, should people see more of the president perhaps outside of, the internet perhaps?
Well, I think it's a really great sign, and especially, a very brave step by President Zelensky, definitely, that he came there. Well, first of all, it should be a sign of certain improvements at the frontier, at the front line in Kharkiv region. And as we were talking about these episodes last week, Ukrainian forces managed to push Russian forces to the border. And the group of soldiers who reached the border first, they actually made a video addressed to President Zelensky that saying that, Mr. President, we did it. We reached the border, and we pushed Russian forces away to the territory of Russian Federation. After that, President Zelensky made also a video to them, especially to them, thanking them for their incredible job done. And basically now he came to thank them personally. And I think this is really a very, it's a very nice gesture, and definitely very encouraging gesture. Also, this shows that for President Zelensky, he feels more or less safe in that area, meaning that despite shelling, despite this, despite close distance to Russian border, still President is sure that he can definitely go and he would be safe. Because this is, of course, very important in this situation that we are here in Ukraine for the moment. Also, this, I guess, shows that he is sure that Kyiv is under great defense, and he is okay to leave this, to leave capital for a certain period of time. So, probably he would try to do this more often. Of course, we cannot say, but definitely this makes people feel much more convenient, and it definitely calms down the society, especially over all of these reports of shellings and intensifying shellings in some areas. But again, as we can see, the city of Kharkiv, unfortunately, especially for the couple of days of the past days, was again under the attack. But still, most of the shellings are happening in the south and in Donetsk and Luhansk region. So, as also what we know, that Kharkiv the city of Kharkiv is about to return the operation of metro stations to normal. So basically, the city is trying to get back to normal as much as it can.
And Anna, the EU is yet to agree on a sixth package of sanctions, round of sanctions against Russia. Do Ukrainians think the sanctions are working?
Sanctions definitely working. However, sanctions have long-term effect, and Ukrainians very thankful, and they definitely support all the sanctions. Well, it's this war at the diplomatic level, on the political level. Ukrainians definitely support that and thank our partners to that. But what I should mention here is that, of course, Ukrainian society as well as Ukrainian officials have, this hope that more we go into the sanctions. So now it's package number 6. Yeah, we don't know how many of them are yet to come, but of course it's a great wish and desire that these sanctions would include something that would affect Russian economy as much as it could, and very badly. And I'm talking, of course, about the area and the sector of Russian economy that brings most of the income, which is oil. And of course, oil and gas embargo is something that is very, it's a great wish of Ukrainian society. And of course, if we talk about sanctions, Ukrainians have hopes that this kind of things would start to appear, because long-term sanctions are fine. The thing is that Ukrainians really want some really crucial economic areas to be also included in the sanctions. So, of course, there are hopes that this would come in the sixth package, but well, we'll see. At least what we hear from the representatives of the EU, that at least partly it would be fulfilled. So we'll see. But definitely this is the way to go.
And Anna, before we let you go, the grains at Odessa, what do we know about the latest? If they've been able to leave the Black Sea, what's happening, and then what Russia has said, and what the rest of the world, the stand on Russia on this?
Well, we don't have any information that they were able to leave. What we know is that President Erdogan is proposing a meeting by the Ukrainian Russian delegation and the representatives of the UN in Istanbul. Probably this would be the main topic for the negotiations. We know that negotiations are ongoing, and we know that this is one of the crucial points of negotiation. So I should say that probably military equipment is number one, and then the grains is number 2. So really there is a hope that at least these negotiations would move on to certain official stage and certain public stage, because for the moment we understand that the negotiations are ongoing, but again, there is no official comments on that or information about any kind of decisions or possible decisions, or at least possible proposals to be at the negotiation table. So hopefully this would move from this point zero. Well, we'll see today, as was reported, President Erdogan already had a telephone call with President Putin. I think that he's planning to talk to President Zelensky as well. So we'll see. We'll see how it's gonna proceed.
Anna, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed. Do stay safe out there.
Thank you very much.
And just quickly before we go on this break, it's all speculation, not true. Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, answering questions about President Vladimir Putin's health. There have been increased and unconfirmed media speculation that President Putin, who turned 70 this year, may be suffering from ill health, possibly cancer. British intelligence sources were quoted telling media outlets that Mr. Putin is seriously ill in the last week. However, rumors about the condition of the Russian leader, long known for his healthy lifestyle and love of sport, have surfaced periodically for years.
Mr. Lavrov repeated the Kremlin's widely discredited line that Russia is fighting a neo-Nazi regime when also asked about the country's special operation in Ukraine. I know some analysts will have different views on this particular intelligence report.
Indeed, I've heard the speculation about the Russian president being ill. We have, coming up after the break,